Hello there, this is Big Benedict. We're playing Alan Wake on Nightmare difficulty on the hardest difficulty. And we are on episode 5.1. It's entitled The Clicker, Nightlife in Bright Falls. So I put this exposition in fast forward for everybody because if you're watching this and using it for a guide, you won't need anything like that, yet in order to lend a sense of cohesion to the project, I have to keep everything as it is, even if I have to fast forward some things. So I just want to be brutally honest with everybody. I think that my enjoyment of this game is robbed from a fundamental fact that I find it a little dull. I find it a little boring. And I'm not talking about the story. The story is actually something that I would watch if I wasn't rushing through making a guide. But I think it has a fundamental issue about it does something well, but it never aspires to anything more than what it does. It teaches you the combat in the beginning of the video game, but that's all it ever does. And it's always going to remain a mystery to me why I find this game fundamentally boring. And obviously nobody would want to watch a guide of somebody that found a game boring, but I still appreciate and respect this game. Something about it. I think the fact that it's not as action oriented as your Gears of Wars and things like that. The fact that I'm playing a very high octane action game alongside this Devil May Cry 4, it might cloud my opinion. I hate these birds, by the way. I really hate these fucking birds. But I was just trying to ask myself why. I always ask myself why I'm finding this game boring. But I do find it boring. So I don't know what to say beyond that. I don't want to drop the commentary because I've dropped it a couple of times. Anyway, I have noticed a little bit of a spike in difficulty on this chapter. Normally I don't want a game to fall short of my expectations of the difficulty. Take Tomb Raider, for instance. That game is criminally easy. And yet, there are games where the difficulty, it just surpasses what I ever would want it to be. And usually in those cases, a guide has to be ended. And Devil May Cry 4 is a good example because I've started and stopped that guide now, I think four fucking times. Maybe 5. If I start it again, it will be 5. And God help me if I do. But what I don't want to do on the Devil May Cry project, because I think that's the best Devil May Cry. I really do. It has a perfect balance of difficulty and accessibility and fun. But what I don't want to do is go back and forth between these versions. I want to do one version. And I forgot that I couldn't beat Dante on the vanilla version. And you might say, well, just keep trying. No, I'm not going to fucking keep trying. I'm not going to keep starting a level over just to perish on a boss that I have no idea how to beat. I've seen everybody do everything they know how to do. I can't beat him. I don't want to beat him. I don't want to try it. I'm done. I'm done. Fucking done. And the thing is, ironically, I can beat him on the special edition because you take more damage off him. Your charge shot level 3s connect more. He doesn't evade them as much as he does on the vanilla version. The special edition is easier. I think most people know that. And yet, because they made Mission 1 easier for people, and I think that was the reason, like why would they make Dante on Mission 1 have so much health taken off for things like the charge shot? If you do a charge shot, it takes like 3 or 4 bars off his health. He doesn't stick around long enough to build style on. So you kind of have to get lucky and deflect the swords and things like that. And I don't want to sit here for hours on end just to see if I can possibly get lucky. But what I don't want to do is, I don't want to do a guide and then go back and forth between the missions on each version and find the one that's easier. I just don't want to do that. It looks bad. It looks like I'm trying to find an easy way out of a situation that I don't particularly want to be in. But I love that game so much that I enjoy playing it. And what I was going to do originally was just do Dante on the vanilla version and the rest on the special edition. And that's a good idea. It's a good compromise. But I'm so burnt out with doing the commentaries every time. I've done these commentaries 4 times. And why don't you say, or you might say, sorry, I've done this commentary like 4 times too. Just stop doing it, or keep backups. I don't keep backups. I just delete stuff in a very impetuous manner. Very reckless. Just delete stuff. I get angry, and then I highlight everything with the mouse cursor. Delete. Go to the YouTube videos. Just delete, delete, delete. Just delete in bulk. And then I later feel bad. Go back to the boss I was struggling on. And then I beat him. And then I realized, oh fuck! I just deleted all this work. And that's just what I do. I don't want to do it. I get mad and reckless, impetuous, impulsive, whatever you want to say it. And I was almost tempted just to stop doing this because I'm not really enjoying it. But if you make 8 videos and a series of people are watching, you have some obligation, I think, to finish it. But do you see the work ethic of my finishing this project that I don't necessarily want to do, but I can do it because it's not that hard? Whereas something like Devil May Cry 4, there was never any guarantee that I could do it in the first place. And I have no problems ending that. It's not a matter of laziness, because if I was lazy I wouldn't do this project in the first place. This fight's pretty tough, by the way. What I thought about doing, I thought that I could unspawn these guys by going back into the light. And I may have a couple of them. I was trying to see if I could get a reset and maybe help people who were struggling here, because this is an ambush. At the very least, you can fill up your health again. So if you stick close to the light, fight these guys, go back into the light, you'll be good. Let's see how fast they fill your health up. That's pretty fast. But anyone who was invested in that project, I apologize. But I don't know. It's just one of those conundrums, a channel conundrum. So this particular part, like I said, it's an ambush. But the flares are really helpful in burning darkness off these guys. And as much as these parts are pretty damn hard, you are going to get adequate enough supplies. And there's one part in this video that kind of unnerves me down in the crypt. And I thought it was actually more involved than just 2 enemies in a darkened crypt. But I think that's all it is. I don't think there's any other parts with the crypt on this game. Watch out for the guys with the fishing hooks as well. Those seem to do a lot of damage to you, those guys do. And why not explain what these orange circles mean? I don't mind if a game is a little coy with descriptions and things like that. But I am interested in your game. I would like to know more about it. I've done a search on YouTube and Google. Well, not YouTube, but Google, you know, to find out what these orange circles mean, and nobody explains what it is. I thought it was that enemies were blocking, or that you were aiming over an inanimate object. See, why is it orange? Why? Why is it orange? It never tells you. And I also thought maybe they have 2 health bars. The first is orange, the next one is the next layer, it's white. I have no clue. I have no clue. But I think the strong suit of this game isn't the combat. I think it really is the narrative. And if I wasn't rushing through making a guide, I would watch it. I definitely would watch it. But anyway, make sure you scour everything. Pick up your thermoses if you're going for the achievement. I suppose there is an achievement. Don't forget to get those flares. Fighting with her is kind of annoying too. It's not like it's an escort mission. There's nothing like that going on, but I suppose it's something different. So I really don't know what's in store for the channel, you guys. I have no consoles, no money. I have. If I sold my computer parts, and I get a paycheck from my dad, we work it out, and it's a pretty good amount. And sometimes I get money from other means. Nothing illegal or anything like that. I'm an upfront, honest person. But just, I don't want to talk about my personal life. You know, there's just no need for it. But like, I bought these computer parts, and they're sitting on the ground in their boxes, or their respective boxes. And I could put all that money toward the console and try to grow the channel, but then I wouldn't be able to build a PC, so I'm just in a conundrum. These consoles are expensive for like their specs. The PlayStation 4, $350 for that for games that don't even run 60 frames a second unless it's from the last generation, practically. I mean, I know Metal Gear Solid 5 does, but that's from a studio that knows what they're doing. It just, and then they're remaking Beyond Two Souls, and yet that can't even be that's in 30 frames per second. That, wow. What does that game do that it's so demanding and it can't even run past 30? It's just, I don't know. And yet all these older games, they can do it with proficiency. And unfortunately, I am looking at a black screen right now, so I don't know what's going on the screen. And I don't know what it is with these damn black screens. Okay, okay, I can see now. We're gonna go through the bookstore here. I didn't investigate what was upstairs. So, anyway, if you have access to a lot of games and things like that, just be grateful, because I don't. I used to have access to everything. Now my access is limited, and I'm kind of resentful about it towards other people who have access. And that's why I've been trying to step up the quality on some of these PC projects. Yeah, I didn't check upstairs. And a lot of these topics, they'll have to be carried over from that Devil May Cry 4 project, because I had a lot of commentaries on there, and they're just deleted. But by all means, if you have any input, anything that, you know, could help the channel out with the struggles that are going on in it, let me know. Oh, this part's tough too. I would say this is the hardest part of the video. So these commentaries are harder than the actual difficulty of Nightmare difficulty. I'm not going to go into that, but I just wanted to have something to go back on in a minute. But be very careful over here. I mean, that kind of goes with the territory. What do I say about this? It's a little ridiculous. You're gonna have all these guys coming from the stage. A couple of guys with what looks like machetes, but they give you ample resources here. They give you flashbangs. They give you ammunition for a flare gun, so it leads me to think maybe there is a flare gun around here somewhere, but I couldn't find one. These guys with the fishing hooks, they take 2 swipes at you, sometimes 3, maybe 3, and it's a pretty devastating combo to get caught in. and usually you end up at the game over screen. But if you're wondering, I see the game over screen pretty seldom on this game. Like, I saw it all the time. It and me were best friends on Brutal difficulty and Uncharted, and I'll always know that I beat Brutal on Uncharted 1 because I got to mission 14, even though, you know, a lot of problems happen with that guide. But I did get up to chapter 14. And that, if getting to chapter 14 is doing all the hard parts. Because everything else is as hard or easier. Nothing is harder than that. Nothing's harder than the opening of chapter 6, in my opinion. But it's sad because, once again, that impulsiveness came reared up, and if I hadn't sold my PlayStation 4, then, you know, I took some financial losses, too, selling these things back for less than I bought them for. So it was really unfortunate as well. But that's me, and people keep coming back despite my idiocy, and I really appreciate that. I try not to be some complete and utter moron, but sometimes you just kind of are one. And, like, I fucking hate that. It's just, you know, it's easy to just see someone, point the finger, and laugh, because what if the tables were turned and people were criticizing you for your failings and your inadequacies? So just try to restrain from that. Another fucking black screen. Because no matter who had a channel, no matter whose channel you watch, they're all going to have their failings. You know? Whether it's DSP over there at his channel or Wiki Game Guides, it doesn't matter. Somebody, you know... And I don't mean John has any problems, but DSP certainly has his problems. And I have mine too, and you can't say you don't have any, because you do, and you just, I think his problem, though, is he never listens to anybody. Like, if somebody had some criticism on this video, I'll read it and think to myself, well, maybe that might work. He'll never do that, probably. I don't even watch his content, but I know his reputation. I know that kind of mentality. Like, his channel is for, I don't even know what his channel is for, adolescents, 8-year-olds at this point. So we're making our way up here. It's going to be another ambush at the chopper. I've sped this part up. But when I was playing this, like, I had a genuine smile on my face when I saw that guy with all those Christmas lights on his jacket, Barry, the guy Barry, the literary agent. And I was thinking to myself, like, if a game causes me to smile, it's doing something really fundamentally right. Because I seldom smile at a game. Like, to break through my heart, my cold, you know, cynical heart. Well, I'm not that cynical, but it's just, you better do something awfully impressive to impress me. Something pretty damn flamboyant like Devil May Cry 4. Otherwise, you're just going to get dismissed. You know? And but when I saw Barry with the Christmas lights on him, and, you know, it's just that narrative pull that this game does. It's really good. But the combat, it's just, that's the combat. That's all you're going to be doing. I know the Gears of War, it's the same thing. But I think that combat feels a little bit more fun to play. But what am I? It's just a subjective opinion that, you know, someone will say that, well, this just feels fun to play. It doesn't matter at that point, because you can't account for taste in any way. It's just all somebody's preference. And that's fine. But when I saw Barry, I just kind of smiled because, yeah, it feels like an old friend, you know? Reuniting with an old friend. I think that's what this game does right, more than the combat. But I'm somebody who comes to games for mechanics. And when they're wanting, I start to take big issues with the game. and start to question why I'm playing that game in the first place. But this particular part is not that bad. I thought it would be a little worse than it is. But if there's ever a skill ceiling in a game, you can always stay confident in the fact that even though you might not be able to do it, you can at least get better. Like, take the first take of all these. Like, you'll always see, if I'm streaming or anything, the first confrontation I get slaughtered, and then the 50th confrontation I do the slaughtering. So this will be the last thing that you do. It's surviving an onslaught here, and what I would recommend is to keep switching on these lamps here, because they will stave off enemies. You're given plenty of supplies here. I mean, you've got flashbangs, you've got those red cylinders that serve the same kind of purpose as the flashbangs, because if their enemies are close to the red cylinders and you hit the cylinders, they instantly get killed, which is really nice. And the guys with the fish hooks, it's actually 2 strikes that they take. Quick succession of death for you if you don't watch out. But I have decided to continue that Devil May Cry 4 project. I'll just do mission 1 on the vanilla version and the rest on the special edition. But all these flashbangs here, make sure you use everything, because the next episode, 5.2, is the Bright Falls Power and Electric, and it's kind of irritating how you can't carry your supplies over. But suffice to say, in the next chapter you won't have anything, because they have everything scripted in a certain way. But that's the end of the first wave. The next wave will come from the top of the left building. So, just as the sheriff says, try to stay alive. And we have 5 flashbangs. That's more than enough to kill everybody here. But if you want to, you can switch on these lamps. I'm not even following my own advice, but I know that I have flares and flashbangs and everything in between, along with all the ammo. So some more batteries over here in the corner. And some of these sections, I think they want you to flee from them. I think they were designed, there's just so many enemies. Like this, you can't flee from it, obviously, but there's the guy with the fish hook. Took a couple of swipes at me. So just keep staving them off, and then once it tells you to go to the chopper after the next wave, you'll be right there into the Bright Falls Power and Electric. And I think that's the chapter that I was confusing the crypt for. I think there's actually some really hard stuff coming up in the next chapter, 5.2, and then in episode 6 there's just two installments as well, like I mentioned. So we're almost done with this guide. I didn't know I had published so many videos, but that's almost it. I once caught a fish this big. Just the random stuff they say is kind of weird. But you shouldn't have too many issues here with all of the flashbangs and everything that you get. You might even be able to have a flare gun. They give you the flare gun ammo, so there must be a flare gun that I missed. So I do apologize about that. And also, when they're shielding their faces, just relent with the flashlight, because it just doesn't work. So take care, you guys.